Hari Om. Let's start with the prayer. Om Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanora Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhusya Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Amadeva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Gurudeva Deva. Hari Om. We are doing the Panchadashi 9th chapter of Vidyaranyas, where he is discussing now a peculiar problem where everyone has understood Vedanta and also studied Vedanta for a prolonged length of time, yet people have a problem to claim that Aham Brahmasmi. So even though they have analyzed the Mahavakya Vichara, yes, I am Brahman, but I am Brahman is only at the intellectual level, only a Paroksha Jnanam, has not become an Aparoksha Jnanam. So that kind of understanding is there, yet understanding is not clear enough to claim that I am the Brahman. And this is true for many people, and this is where a peculiar situation that is common for all is being analyzed and what one should do. So he is talking about, says, then you have to do Brahma Upasana, Aham Brahmasmi Upasana. And for that he is giving an instruction. Aham Brahmasmi is not a japam, and it cannot be done with people who have not studied Vedanta. So Vedanta study is a prerequisite for this Upasana, and that's what being emphasized in the 14th sloka. Vedantebhyo Brahma Tattvam Vedantebhyo Brahma Tattvam Akhandaikarasatmakam Parokshamavagam Yaitad Ahamasmityupasate together. Vedantebhyo Brahma Tattvam Akhandaikarasatmakam Parokshamavagam Yaitad Ahamasmityupasate. So here is emphasizing that one should have studied Vedanta. That means how long I have to study? It is a Srotavyaha, Mantavyaha. So prolonged length of time, that is Srotavyaha, where I had to listen to the teacher who is a competent teacher, and a competent teacher is the one who himself studied Vedanta for a prolonged length of time under another competent teacher, and another competent teacher himself has studied prolonged length of time under another competent teacher. That there is series of teacher student. That's why it's called Shruti. Shruti means he has heard, that is Srotavyaha, from one who knows how to teach, who himself has learned from his teacher, and therefore knows all ins and outs of the problems that can arise. And that was a teacher. For that you have to approach appropriate teacher, and the scripture itself says, Tad Vijnanartham sa gurum eva abhigachet samitpanihi Srotavyaha. Srotavya means who has studied Vedanta, and Mantavya, the one who has studied and who is Brahmanishta, who is abiding in the knowledge. That means he has understood that Aham Brahmasmi clearly. So here, who has studied and understood Vedantebhyaha, Brahma Tattvam has studied for prolonged length of time by a Sampradaya teacher. Through a teacher you are studying the Vedanta. Akhandaikarasatmakam, the what nature of that infinite nature of that Brahman, which is of the Ananda Swarupa, it is of the full, complete, and it is consciousness, it is Chaitanya Swarupam and Sat Swarupam and Ananda Swarupam. That is the nature of Brahman, and that is called Akhanda Ekarasam. So that is one unbroken, undifferentiated, no Sajati Vijati Swagata Vedas are not there. No differentiation of any kind is there. It's a homogeneous, pure consciousness where no word can reach, no thought can reach, because thoughts and words are only for objectifiable entity. Yet Vedanta teaches using the words, but in the direction for you, lakshyartha, contemplate in the direction. So once you understood, this has not become internalized that I am that Brahman, it only remained as a paroksha jnanam. So paroksham avagamya itad, who has clearly understood the Vedanta, and because of some obstacles, so adrushta, the pratibandhas are there. Obstacle, pratibandha is obstacles, adrushta means unforeseen, and that because of that you have, the suggestion is sit down and meditate on that. So meditation comes after the knowledge. It's same as nididhyasanam, but nididhyasanam is inquiry, keep on inquiring about the nature of the reality that you are that, whereas the upasana involves a meditation on the totality as aham brahmasmi, and that is atma aham asmi, I am the total. Remember in the 7th chapter the statement aham asmi has been defined, that is from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. It says atmai ched vijaniyat aham asmi iti purushaha. So therefore atmai ched vijaniyat, one has to know, and for that aham asmi, I am that totality, has to be known, and because of the obstacles you do upasana. That's what is being recommended here after studying the scriptures. We'll go to 15. Prajyak vyaktiman ullikhya, prajyak vyaktiman ullikhya, shastrad vishwadi murtivat, shastrad vishwadi murtivat, asti brahmeti samanya, asti brahmeti samanya, jnanamatra parokshadihi, jnanamatra parokshadihi. Together, prajyak vyaktiman ullikhya, शास्त्राद विश्वादि मूर्तिवत अस्ति ब्रह्मेति सामान्य ज्ञानमत्र परोक्षधीः. So what is paroksha jnanam and what is aparoksha jnanam is now describing in more details in that. So I have understood as a paroksha jnanam but not aparoksha jnanam. Aparoksha means I am that has not been clearly understood verbally, but not what J. Krishnamurti calls it, it's an understanding as a fact, and not an understanding as a thought. So I have not understood as a fact. I have understood, yes, I am Brahman, but how come I am suffering? That means I have not understood I am Brahman. So this is what one fellow went to Swami Chimayananda and said, sir, I have been listening to Vedanta and I understand I am Brahman, but how come I am suffering? That means he has not understood Aham Brahmasmi. That internalization is not there. So here, he is defining what is Paroksha Jnanam. Prajyak Vyaktiman Ullikhya. So the Shastra Vishnu Adi, Vishwadi is Vishnu Adi Murtivatu. So Pratyak Vyaktiman Ullikhya, the study of Shastra, Vishnu Adi, etc., Murtivatu, like the worship of the idols, etc. So Pratyak, the self that I am, Pratyak Vyaktiman. So I am that Brahman is not Asti Brahmeti, Brahma Asti. I am that Brahman is not understood. I have only understood that just as I understand that Vishnu is there and Vishnu is he is Lakshmipati, and all the description of Vishnu, this is he is Chade Lakshmi Sapatnyo Ahoratre Parsve. So whole Purusha Suktam is talking about Sahasra Sirsha Purusha Sahasraksha Sahasrapa Sabhuvim Ishvato Rutva Atyatishtat Dashangulam Purusha Vedagum Sarvam Yad Bhutam Yascha Bhavyam Udanatasya Sveshanaha Yadannina Virohati. So if you go to Purusha Suktam, the description of the Purusha is beautifully given, but everybody understands that. And who is that Purusha? So he is Chade Lakshmi Stepatno Ahoratre Parshve. He is Lakshmipati. So he is described. Lakshmi is what? Lakshmi is the whole universe itself is Lakshmi, and he is the creator of that. He is the author of that. He is the Pati. He is the supporter of that, and that has been how Purusha Suktam Virat Purusha has been defined, and even the 11th chapter of Gita, he defines also the Virat Purusha. So Vishwam Vishnu, I have understood what is the nature from the Shastras. So Shastras, Vishnu are the Ullikhya. So having understood that from the Shastra, I can still do Upasana, which is not of the nature of Vishnu, but a tiny form I am using it, which is not really, doesn't have all the tributes of that, including not even a conscious entity. This is an inert entity, but I can still do Upasana. That's what he says. Tajyak Vyaktimanullikhya Shastra Vishwadi Murtiyatu. So I have understood indirectly because I have not seen Vishnu. So Vishnu has been defined in terms of Chaturbhuja and Shankuchakra. All that is being described in many Upanishads and in the Puranas, all that. So from the Shastra, which is indirectly Paroksha Jnanam, I have, because I don't have directly knowledge of Vishnu, but I have only indirect knowledge, and that's how the Paroksha Jnanam has been defined. But I have faith in the scriptural statement, yes, that is Vishnu. So Paroksha Jnanam becomes a knowledge only because of the Shraddha in the scriptural. So scriptural pramana, on that basis I understood who is Vishnu. Similarly other Murti also. So Vishwa Adi Murtiyatu, all other gods have been described by different Puranas, and I understood. Asti Brahme iti samanya jnanamatra parokshadihi. So in this case of the Vedanta knowledge, Asti Brahma iti, the Brahman is, and what is the Brahman? He is what? He is what? The whole universe. It is of the Satchid Ananda Swarupam, and from this the whole universe came, and from which it is sustained, into which it goes back. Yatova imani bhutani jayante, yena jatani jivanti, yat prayam tabhisham mishanti. That Vijnasasva, that has to be known, and that's called Paroksha Jnanam. What's a Paroksha Jnanam? From which the whole universe came, by which it is sustained, into which it goes back. That is the nature of Brahman. That's the nature of the Lord. That's the nature of the totality. That having understood how? Through Shastra Pramana. So Shastradi, because of Shastra, and I have understood Shastra by means of Shastra. Shastra means science. So what is a science? Science is, we think only objective things are sciences. And that's what objective scientists think, that is only science. Everything else is, which cannot be objectified, is not really science. And he has a notion. So it is a misunderstanding of a scientist thinking that only objectifiable, that which can be analyzed, only science. But science is defined, is that which reveals the truth. Shastram is the one that points to the knowledge, provides you the knowledge. So the chemistry Shastram gives me knowledge of chemistry. Physics Shastram gives me knowledge of physics. So these are objectifiable entities, whereas the total knowledge includes both the object and the subject. So I need that knowledge, and that knowledge is what? So Shankara defines it as the Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya, Jivo Brahmaivana Paraha. And Brahma is absolute reality. Brahman means Satchidananda is absolute reality. Brahma Satyam, and therefore the world is being infinite consciousness. The world can only be appearance and experienceable, but not really real. Therefore it is Jagan Mithya. And who am I? Jivo Brahmaivana Paraha. Jiva is not different because he is a conscious entity, and therefore Tattvamasi Vedanta says you are that, and that claim is not, but that is a statement. And Shankara says Anena Vedyam Tat Shastram. That is Shastram. That by which I can know these three. Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya, Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. This I cannot know through objective analysis because I am including the subject also, and that which is conscious entity also included. Conscious entity cannot be analyzed as an object because every object is unconscious entity. Therefore, Vedanta anena vedyam tat shastram, because of which I can know that alone is the shastram. It says. So this word asti brahmeti samanya jnanam. Brahma is asti, is there. That's what paroksha jnanam everybody understands by studying the Vedanta. And jnanam atra parokshadi. Atra, that jnanam is called parokshadihi, paroksha jnanam. So he defined what is paroksha jnanam. Brahma asti means I have not claimed myself, that aham brahmasmi is not claimed, even though I studied that part also. And there also I am objectifying that I am Brahman and I want to become Brahman. You cannot become Brahman. Why? Because you are finite and Brahman is infinite. Finite cannot become infinite. But I cannot stop trying to gain that knowledge because I want to be happiness. Happiness is only limitless, and limitless cannot be achieved by any process. And therefore, one has to understand the pursuit for moksha is inherent, and I cannot gain the moksha by any process. And that's why one should understand the pathless land, but there is a path, because understanding itself is the path. That should be understood. So even though one is not seen Vishnu, one has understood who is Vishnu by studying the Puranas. So when I say this is Vishnu and that's Lord Shiva and this is Parvati and this is Lakshmi, I have a clear understanding their attributes, and from the description of Puranic and Shastra, I know how Vishnu will look like, even though I have not seen Vishnu. I have not seen Shiva or Parvati, but from the description of by the Shastras, I can gain the knowledge, and that's called Paroksha Jnanam. Same way, I have gained the knowledge of Brahman Asti. Brahman is there, and nature of Brahman is how he became many are being described. So he is going to more details about the Vishnu now. Chaturbhujadjavagatam, Chaturbhujadjavagatau, Chaturbhujadjavagatau, Apimurtimanullikhan, Apimurtimanullikhan, Akshay Paroksha Jnanyeva, Jnanyeva, Akshay Paroksha Jnanyeva, Natada Vishnu Michyate, Natada Vishnu Michyate. Together, Chaturbhujadja Avagatau, Abhimurtimanullikhan, Akshayhi Paroksha Jnanyeva, Natada Vishnu Michyate. So Chaturbhuja Adi Avagatau. So having known that Lord Vishnu has 4 hands, and on the left hand Shankhu, and the right hand Vishnu Chakram, because you need the force for right hand. Assuming Lord Vishnu is a right hand, not a left hand Vishnu, right hand. So we have a Chakram on the right hand, and the Shankhu on the left hand, and one hand there is a Gadha, and one hand blessing the disciples. So there are 4 hands. So Chaturbhudi Adi etc. Avagatau, having known api. So Chaturbhuja Adi Avagatau known api. Akshayhi Murti Anullikhan. So having Anullikhan, having not seen Murti, the form, having not seen by Akshay, I have not seen Vishnu through my eyes. Paroksha Jnani, one only have the indirect knowledge through the Shastra, what is the nature of Vishnu. Natada Vishnu Michyate. So, but by Upasana, I will see what I have not seen, but I understood how he looks like, I can recognize wow. So there is a joke, it says, Lord Vishnu thought you are looking for him, so he comes down, perhaps in October, and he comes down and knocks the door and says, when you open the door, says, sir, who are you all? He's looking like 4 hands, and one side Chakram, one side Shanku, and all that you have attribute learned in the scriptures, in that form he appears there. So he says, sir, I heard you are looking for me, so I came. He says, my God, how do you know that you are Vishnu? So this is in states we have October 31st is a what do you call the Halloween. Everybody dresses like different things. So you thought, is it trick or treat? And everybody comes and says, are you doing some trick or treat? I said, I can do a lot of tricks to prove that I am Vishnu. So now everybody is doing a lot of tricks. I don't want tricks. I want to prove ID. Where is your ID? I want show me your ID. So what Vishnu has to show his ID to make sure that you understand that he is Vishnu. So what's that ID? He says ID is he has to show Lakshmi. Through Lakshmi only Vishnu can be recognized. That's why Ischate Lakshmi Ischapatnyo Ahoratre Parsve. Lakshmi will be always there. And he always carries her in the form of Kaustubam. So that was his ID, is always he is carrying her. Wherever he goes, he has to carry his ID, otherwise people won't recognize him. Because he is Vyapakatva. He pervades everywhere and you cannot recognize him. You can only recognize through Lakshmi only Lord Vishnu. That is how the Vishnu is. So here the Paroksha Jnanam can be Pratyaksha Jnanam by Upasana. So Achaihi Parojya Jnanyeva na tatha Vishnu Ichyate, and Vishnu na Ichyate. I have not seen Vishnu. No one has seen Vishnu, but only we have indirect knowledge of how Vishnu looks like through the Shastram. So now you have to go to Upasana to see Lord Vishnu. Parokshatva paradhena bhavenna tattva vedanam bhavenna tattva vedanam pramanenaiva shastrena satyamurtir vibhasanat together. Parokshatva paradhena bhavenna tattva vedanam pramanenaiva shastrena satyamurtir vibhasanat. So Parokshatva, because the Parokshatvam aspect of it, because indirect knowledge, indirectness of the knowledge, Parokshatva means the Jnanam is indirect knowledge. So indirectness of the knowledge, Parokshatva, Aparadhena, and by its shortcoming, because I cannot directly see, I am only indirectly hearing what it is. So Parokshatva, Aparadhena, Atattva Vedanam. So not seeing the real nature of that, or not realizing the Brahma Tattvam also, Atattva Vedanam na bhavid, is not considered as a shortcoming. Not seeing the Vishnu in real nature is not a shortcoming for me to do Upasana and see Vishnu. Say, how do you know Vishnu looks like? You are praying Vishnu in this form. He says, it doesn't matter. The Shastra says how Vishnu looks like. Therefore, I have a faith in the Shastras. Therefore, I have indirect knowledge of how Vishnu looks like. So, the not seeing individually with my eyes is not anymore a shortcoming for me to do Upasana. I can invoke the Lord in the form here, and invoke in the form and looking at the reality, having known that how he looks like, I can pray in that form. So essentially Pramanaiva Shastrena Satyamurtir Vibhasanat. So Atma Tattva, not seeing the reality, so it's not considered as the aparadham, it's not considered as a shortcoming, it's not considered a problem. Even though I have not seen Vishnu, I can still pray Vishnu in a particular form that is defined. So therefore, Pramanena, by scriptural Pramana, Eva Shastrena, Shastra Pramanena, by Shastra Pramana, I know how Vishnu looks like, and all that is been described in the Shastras, that knowledge, I have a faith in the description. I know Shastras cannot lie to me. So therefore, knowing how he looks like, even though I have not seen with my eyes how Vishnu looks like, I can start praying and do Upasana. So Shastrena, so Murtihi in the form that is described by the Shastra, Satya Vibhasana, the real form can be described or realized. Real form can be realized in the using a Shastra as a pramana. Even though I have not seen it, I can do upasana and recognize the truth. So now this is a understanding of objectifiable entities. So for the I don't know, I have not seen Vishnu, but I can picturize Vishnu in the form as described by the Shastras. Now this is a Paroksha Upasana. I am different from Vishnu, therefore I can pray. Whereas in the Brahma Tattvam, in the Vedanta Upasana, the difficulty is a little bit more difficult, because not only it is an objectifiable, every object is nothing but the Brahman, but also the subject is also. So one is the looking at the objectifiable world as Brahman and looking the subject also as Brahman, and there cannot be distinction of subject object, is only apparent distinction. So seeing underlying the truth, oneness that pervades both the subject and object, that is what to be recognized. Here it's not like I am Upasaka and that is Upasana, where Vishnu is different, I am praying Vishnu. It's only an example there. But when it comes to Brahma, Aham Brahmasmi Upasana, I am doing a Upasana as though it is an objectified, but it's not subject only. I am doing Upasana on myself. That's essentially what is involved. So let's do Sloka 18. Satchidananda Rupasya Shastrad Bhanepyanullikhan Pratyancham Sakshinam Tattu Brahma Sakshinna Vichyate. So here he is defining the problem here. Satchidananda Rupasya Shastrad Bhanepyanullikhan Pratyancham Sakshinam Tattu Brahma Sakshinna Vichyate. So Shastrad, by using the Shastra Pramana, Satchidananda Rupasya, of the nature of Satchit Ananda aspect of the Brahman. So I understood from the Shastra that Brahman is of the nature of Satchit Ananda. So Brahman being the infinite, and where does the Shastra tell that it is of the nature of Satchidananda? It says Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Says that's essentially Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Anantameva Anandam. So therefore Satchidanandam is a Satyam Jnanam Anantam, and that I gain from the scriptures, and that is called the Swarupa Lakshanam of the Lord. The Tatastha Lakshanam has been defined as Yatova imani bhutani jayante ena jatani jivanti yat prayam sabisham vishanti tad vijnasasva tad brahmeti. So there, Tatastha Lakshanam, from which the whole universe came, by which it is sustained, into which it goes back. That means it is the material cause for the whole universe, and also it's an efficient cause, and it is actually causeless cause, and that which is pure existence and Sat and Chit, pure infinite. How do I know that infinite consciousness? That is, the scripture says Prajnanam Brahma. It is of the nature of consciousness which is infinite. So in each Upanishad is defining as the Sadeva Saumya Idamagramasid Ekameva Advitiyam, that is Brahman, and that is Sat Swarupam. As Atma says, from which Atma, the Atma alone was there, which is of the nature of consciousness. Ananda is also there, that is of the nature of consciousness and infinite. So each Upanishad has defined Brahman from different point. From the existent point, it is Sat. From the conscious point, it is consciousness. From the limitless point, it is limitless, infinite. Therefore, it is Ananda Swarupam. This knowledge is gained through Shastram. So, Satchidananda Rupasya Shastrat Bhanepi, even though I have understood that of the nature of Brahman is of the nature of Satchidananda, Bhanepi, Anullikan. So Anullikan, having not recognized that, having not recognized or realized too, Tad Brahma Sakshat Navichyate, and having not Sakshat. Sakshat means having not recognized, because you cannot really Sakshat like a Vishnu or something, but having not recognized that the totality of Brahman, means not really understood the Brahman alone is, or Aham Brahmasmi alone. So either I say that the Brahman alone is, or, and Krishna puts it, so the Yomam Pasyati Sarvatra Sarvancha Mai Pasyati Tasyaham Na Pranasyami Sadamena Pranasyati. The one who sees me everywhere, Yomam Pasyati Sarvatra Sarvancha Mai Pasyati, who sees everything in me. So me is what? Conscious Sachidananda Swarupam. So Krishna defines that from the point of the bhakti point, and at the same time he says that he defines in a different way also. He says that the sarvabhutastam atmanam sarvabhutani cha matmani, the one who sees the self, sarvabhutastam atmanam, one who sees self, himself and self everywhere, and he is same as the totality too, and that is the Satchidananda Rupasya Shastrat Bhanepi, that Pratyaksha Sachinam Tat Brahma Sachinna Vichyate. I have not recognized that I am Brahman, and that is essentially Sakshat Na Vichyate. I have not directly experienced that I am. I have not claimed myself I am that. So people want to experience Brahman. It's not an experiencer, even though it says Anubhavam. Anubhavam means clear understanding that I am the totality. So how do you explain the laddu? Laddu is sweet, right? Laddu is sweet, I hope. So laddu is sweet, but if you eat laddu, say I am experiencing the sweetness, but what is sweetness? How do we define sweetness? So you can, what kind of words can be used to define sweetness? Oh, it is like laddu, it's only words. Words cannot experience. So Swamiji used to give an example, Swami Chinmayananda used to give an example of the Vidyut, electricity. So it says there is a live wire, and it says don't touch it, you will get a shock. I mean, what is a shock? What is shock? What you get when you touch electricity? How does it look like? What is the experience of shock? Can you describe me how shock experience is? So what can you experience over there? It's like wow, you will say, but what is it exactly? So the best way is touch it, then you will experience, then you know what it is. So when you touch it, you also start doing mantra, ha, hu. So all those mantras don't mean anything, but that is an expression of the experience, all that. So same in Mahatma also. Ah, ahamannam, 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 ahamannadau. This is a song of a realized person, because he is indulged in experience, and that experience cannot be expressed in any way. I am this, I am that, I am that. So that's exactly what the Satchidananda Saksham. That experience is an experience where there is no experiencer experience. Oneness of that is what is actually truth. And Sachinam Tattu Brahma Sachinna Vichyate. Vichyate means he has not seen that Brahman Sakshat. Directly has not seen. Directly is not something to see, because Brahman is infinite, you cannot see. So seeing means, just as Krishna says, Yomam Pasyati, who sees me, Yomam Pasyati Sarvatra, who sees me everywhere. How can I see Lord everywhere? Seeing means not a form, eyes can only see form. But I cannot see Lord who is pervading everything, because he is Vishnu, Vyapakatva. So I cannot see with my eyes. I need a Divya Drishti. I need a special vision. That's what was given to Arjuna also. He could not see Lord in normal eyes, because he need to understand. It's an understanding vision. It's called Jnana Chakshu, where everything he has to see as nothing but Lord himself. That comes from the knowledge. So it's a vision of a knowledge, and that's what is called Vichanam. So Brahma Sakchin Navichyate. I am not able to recognize the presence of the Lord everywhere or presence of myself everywhere. That's called Sakshatkaram here. So even though Shastras have described it, Shastras have described, you are that, Tattvamasi. I am Atma Brahman. This Atma is Brahman, infinite. And Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavihi, Brahmajño, Brahmanahutam, Brahmaiva tena ganthavyam, Brahma karma samadhina. So using a ritual that one uses, example of that, indicating the Brahman. This ladle is Brahman, this fire is Brahman, the one ghee is Brahman, the one who is pouring is also Brahman, and the one who gets the benefit is also Brahman. Karta Brahman, Karma Brahman, Kriya Brahman, Phalam Brahman, everything is Brahman, because there cannot be anything other than the Brahman. If there is something other than the Brahman, Brahman ceases to be Brahman, because Brahman means infinite. It cannot be, anything cannot be away from infinite. But at the same time, I am only paying attention to the names and forms like ladle, fire, and yajna, homam. I am paying attention to the individual differences, ignoring the essence that pervades the whole thing. That vision is what ichyate. So that Brahma Sakshim Navichyate. So if I don't say it, what should I do? Having understood from the Shastra, now Upasana can be done with that vision. 19. Shastrokte naiva margena Satchidananda nischayat parokshamapi tadjnanam tattvajnanam natu brahmaha. So together, Shastrokte naiva margena Satchidananda nischayat parokshamapi tadjnanam tattvajnanam natu brahmaha. So here, just as in the previous example where I have studied Shastras to know how Vishnu looks like even though I have not seen. In the same way, now extending that example to Aham Brahmasmi, to the Vedanta also. So having not seen, at the same time I know how Vishnu looks like, even though it is indirect knowledge, Paroksha Jnanam. I don't have the direct Sakshatkaram of Vishnu. But having known and having faith in the scriptural statement and having understood how Vishnu will look like, then I can do Upasana in a form which is not a Vishnu but is only a symbol. In the same way, I can, knowing very well what exactly is the nature of Brahman, of the Satchidananda Swarupam, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, knowing that, using the scriptures, having understood, so I have clear understanding of that part as a Paroksha Jnanam. So for that I have to have a Vedantic study. So I cannot do Upasana without the normal basis. So I cannot inquire, sit down, putting who am I, I cannot do it. I need to have a Shastra Jnanam background in order to inquire into it. So Shastrokte naiva margena Satchidananda nischayat Parokshamapi tadjnanam. Even though I have Paroksha Jnanam, not seen directly, not realized directly, Tadvajnanam natu Brahma. That Paroksha Jnanam is not a Brahma, it is a Prama. Because by Pramana, Shastra Pramana, I have gained that knowledge. So Pramanam is that which gives you Prama. So that which Prama, that gives you Prama is Pramanam. So, and Vedanta is a Pramana, a Sabda Pramana, that which can not be describing that which cannot be described, and that which cannot be seen as an object, that which cannot be analyzed through objective analysis, that cannot be understood through the five senses, that cannot be known through by any other means, Anumana Pramana, and none of the Pramanas can be valid. It's only Shastra Pramana, scriptural, and these scriptures are not any scripture, it's a Vedanta. Veda means science and ultimate science, and that is what is to be gained. So with that understanding, I am pursuing the Upanishad also. So Shastrokti Naiva Margena Satchidananda Nischaya. So having clear understanding that Satchidananda is by study of the scriptures, Shastrena Eva, by studying of the scriptures alone, that having clear understanding, Nischayatmikam, it's called Upanishad. Upanishad means Upa is near, which is closest or to the near to the teacher. Ni stands for Nischayatmikam, is a clear understanding, and Shat means having discarded all wrong notions and to gain the right knowledge. That is Tattva Jnanam, and that is not a Brahma, that is not a erroneous knowledge. Because Shastra is trying to point out, because it is a science, science is telling me the truth, and therefore it is not untruth, it is not error, also Brahma. And therefore have a faith in the scriptures becomes a basis for any further progress. So Shastrasya Guru Vakyasya Satya Buddhyavadarana Sa Shraddha. So what is Shraddha? Shankaracharya defined as Shastrasya Guru Vakyasya Satya Buddhyavadarana. So the faith that the Shastra tells is correct, and what the teacher that pointing out the Shastra is correct, and that is how the Shraddha, faith in that, and therefore it is not Natu Brahma, it's not an erroneous knowledge, and that is the foundation for Upasana. I need to have, just as I have clear understanding how Vishnu looks like, therefore I have no doubt. How do I know? I have not seen Vishnu. Yet Shastra and Puranas describe how Vishnu looks like. Therefore, that forms a jnanam basis for my sadhana. The same way, Upasana is going to be described. For that, I have to clear understanding of the nature of Brahman. With this, we stop here, and we'll continue in terms of how he is going to lead us to the Upasana of Aham Brahmasmi. This we stop here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.